Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Adrenal Fatigue Podcast. It's Danielle Zies here with Angela Rocchio today. And today we are going to be chatting about, very timely with the start of the new year. Just having happened, we're going to be talking about how to set yourself up for an amazing recovery in 2021. We're going to chat about how to break through a lot of the mindset blocks that hold us back from actually getting true results. So, this is going to be a great conversation for anybody who's struggled in 2020, whether it be from just the stress of everything that was going on in the world and that is still going on in the world, adrenal fatigue issues, burnout, hormonal imbalance, whatever it is that is keeping you feeling from your ultimate self. And so, just before we jump into the content today, we do want to say if you're new to us and just joining us for the first time and wondering, what are you talking about when you say adrenal fatigue? We really encourage you to listen to episode number 2 because we break this down in a lot of detail and we highlight how we are aware that adrenal fatigue is not a medically defined term. So we want you to know that what we're talking about when we say adrenal fatigue. In a nutshell though, it's anything that's leaving you feeling less than your best due to the way stress is implicating your life. So I know that's broad, and we definitely go into it more in episode number 2, but just to make sure we're all starting off on the same level here. So we're about to jump into the content with Angela. This is going to be a wonderful conversation. Get ready to get inspired, grab a pen and paper, and be ready to take notes because this episode is really juicy.
I am really excited to have this conversation with you today. This conversation is about creating your recovery in 2021. That's what I want to support you with today. Because I know if you're here, many of you are struggling, you're over it, you want this to be the year that everything changes for you. And that's so badly what I want for you too. I want to walk you through a really important and profound exercise to help you be in more of the driver's seat of your recovery and in a very holistic sense, okay? And for you to really be able to create that for yourself. If you've been struggling, if you've tried so many things, there might just be a few things that you're missing that I really want to touch on today, okay? Because we do have more control than we think or that we've ever been led to believe in regards to how our life pans out, right? And about our health. This is less of a conversation about setting your goals for 2021. Because the truth is that only 8% of people reach the goals they set out for themselves. Not that there's anything wrong with goals, but those that achieve their goals, the 8%, usually are really good at it already, or most likely they have a great system to follow. They have a coach that's guiding them through a process and that they have accountability. And that's when achieving goals can be a lot simpler. So I want to reframe this idea of setting goals or resolutions for the year and thinking about just being really clear about what we desire. What are our intentions? Okay, so that's the conversation I want to have today. And I want to actually show you how to make that happen and guide you through a process. Okay, so I want you to grab a pen and paper. And the first part, it's so important, is and actually do this process right now or listen to the entire podcast and then set aside an hour to yourself in the next 48 hours to do this exercise. Why? And I know some of you will say, oh, maybe I'll do it. But how often do we actually set aside time to go inward and ask for what we want and to just know and get clear about what we want? Is a lost art. So that alone is very powerful. So that's the first step I want you to get here, is to take this time. Take it seriously. If you spend an hour now in January of 2021 and you pan this out for yourself and you get clarity, you get it out of your head and on paper, you can create what you desire. Again, also recommend pen to paper. Yes, we get used to typing on our phones or our computers, but I find that there's so much power in just when I have a pen and good old paper in my hand. First of all, you're going to get clear on what you desire for this year ahead. Now, some of you might just want to focus on your physical health and overall well-being, maybe physical, mental, emotional health. That's fine. Some of you might want to take this into other areas of your life. If you think of it as a pizza is like all the little slices, right? We have health, like health category, we have relationships, we have money, we have career, family, and so on. So you might want to do all those. You might want to pick a few. So I want you to write down what are the categories that you're going to focus on for this year? Like, what are the most important? Okay. And then you're going to write an intention or a few intentions about in each of those categories. Okay. And I want you to really take time to get clear on those. So let me give you a little hint on how to actually do that. Okay, so you can have statements like, I would like to double my energy this year or in the next 6 months. I want to wake up feeling rested. And so you write statements like this in each of the categories. And the more clear you can get, the more even quantifiable helps. I want to be, going to bed by 10 o'clock, whatever it may be. And then after each of these statements, I want you to ask yourself, why? Why do I want this? Okay, so after each of your intentions, I want you to ask yourself why. And then I want you to ask yourself why again. And you'll really, when you start to ask yourself that, you can even say like, so what? Okay, get your why, and then from that why ask, okay, so what? Okay, so I want to go to bed earlier. So what? So I can, have that optimal melatonin and be able to fall asleep and sleep better. Okay, so what's deeper under there? Okay, I want to feel rested. Why do I want to feel rested? Okay, because I want to actually be able to wake up feeling alive. I want to live my life. No, so we're going to just keep digging and digging. And we're getting underneath that superficial why and having really clear awareness as to like why we want this certain thing. And this is important because when you acknowledge this and when you're aware of it and you write it down, get it out of your head and on paper, these are the things that are going to motivate you on the hard days and the weeks. We have to remember why we want this in the first place. When you want to give up, and even when you have days and weeks that you give up, this is what's going to help you get back on the train. Okay, so got that. So we're getting pen to paper, writing down our intentions. We're going to ask why for each of our intentions, each of our statements. Okay, then we are dissecting those intentions into smaller steps you can take to get to the bigger piece, right? So for many people, it takes 3 to 6 months, especially when you're talking about hormonal imbalance and adrenal fatigue in particular. It's going to take a good 3 to 6 months, maybe 3 months to even start seeing shifts in how you feel, your energy levels, your mood, things like that. So there are obviously steps that we need to take each day, each week, in order to get to that bigger intention, right? So this is where you're going to start to break those down. Now, this is something I do with my clients, one-on-one clients, and inside our groups, that it's a long process, right? It can take weeks. But what I want to do here is just give you an idea of how this process works. It's giving you kind of a framework, if you will, and then hopefully you can kind of run with this. So one thing more I want to say about that is that the steps, sometimes you feel like, okay, well, in order to go to bed at 10 o'clock, you have to get clear on what do you want to do the hour before you go to bed, or what do you feel like is going to be supportive to you, right? Sometimes the step itself sometimes is just doing research. Maybe it's like, okay, instead of being on social media, I want to start listening to podcasts before I go to bed, or I want to start listening to music. Okay, well, I need to get clear on like what I need to start asking questions to myself about, like, what do I want to listen to? What do I want to take in that hour before bed? So be able to break your steps down in little bitty steps. And then when that step, okay, this is when you know you got to keep going to smaller steps, is when a step that you have feels too big, it's overwhelming. That's when you need to break it down into like 3 baby steps. So next, you have this start, right? You have this framework that we've just talked about. You have your statements, you have your whys, you've dissected it a little bit into steps, and you're going to keep dividing those up into steps as you go, right? This is a longer process. Again, I'm just giving you the basics today. This would be a 3-hour podcast. So next, you're going to put this into a special place where you can refer to it a few times a week. The more that you read this, the more you can put it into a statement, a vision, a whole vision, like a paragraph of what you desire for yourself in this next year or in this next 6 months. And again, so it might be 3 to 5 sentences, it might be 10 sentences, it might be bullet points, whatever. You're going to have it and you're going to get really familiar with it. And you might even want to draw something. It might help you to visualize, right? Visualization is a very powerful tool because it helps us tap into the feeling and the energetics of what we desire. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. If you desire these certain things because deep down you want to travel the world because that is what you feel like you're meant to be doing, maybe it's a career, it's a passion project that you have that you've been waiting to do but haven't had the energy, and that's going to make you feel complete and whole in your life. You might want to have a vision of yourself traveling the world. You might want to have a vision of what you look like when you have your dream business. And you might even have a visual that you can put on your side table or put on your fridge or somewhere where you're going to see it often, that will inspire you and motivate you and help you keep going. This next piece, that is probably the most important and why most people stay stuck, is that we must address the mindset. Your thoughts, or I should say our thoughts, our beliefs, are what stop us most of the time from creating the change that we desire. So our thoughts and our beliefs are most often the thing that stop us from creating the change. And even talking about recovery, folks, it stops us in our tracks. So I want you to get clear. So on your paper, I want you to write what I believe about my health. These are conclusions. These are things that you have believed, bought, about your health, about hormones in general or your hormones, about your genetics, anything that's keeping you from where you want to be right now. Like what conclusions have you made? What beliefs have you bought? What lies have you bought that are simply not true or are outdated, aren't even valid anymore? See, these conclusions, again, are the thoughts and beliefs, and they determine how we feel, our emotions, and that is what affects the way that we behave, the things that we do, which that creates our life. Okay? So what if you didn't believe the lie that recovery is hard or has to take a long time? Would it take a long time if you didn't believe it? What if you started to realize that you are living from conclusion, and that if you would just ask different questions and be open to it being easier, what if that perspective, that outlook, that attitude could shift everything for you? Our thoughts can create a lot of stress in our lives and allow us to feel threatened, and that has a very big impact on our bodies. So if we could change that alone, if we could stop feeling chronically threatened, and we would learn to relax our bodies and feel safe in our bodies, how would that change your physical health? How would that shift your hormones? How quickly could your adrenals actually heal? Okay, so when you find yourself in conclusion, I want you to just start to be aware of that. Okay, so again, let me back up. If you haven't already, you're pausing this or whatnot, you're writing down the conclusions, the beliefs, the thought patterns you have about your body, your health, your hormones, hormones in general, adrenal fatigue, hormonal imbalance, whatever. I'll give you another example. Okay, well, I just heard this today actually. You know, it's runs in my family. All the women in my family have really bad cramps or really bad menstrual cycles. That is a conclusion. That is a lie that you bought, because so much of our lives we know now is not just based on our DNA. It's environmental. It has to do with how we think. So if you find yourself in conclusion, I just want you to start recognizing that. Imagine just, even if just once a day, you could catch yourself functioning and living from a conclusion, a belief, a lie. And maybe you don't even think it's a lie. Maybe you're like, well, it is true. You know, this thing is true. Well, what if it actually wasn't? What if it wasn't what you've always thought it was? A really cool phrase that I learned from Access Consciousness, which is just a group of tools that I've found in my life, is that you can say, interesting point of view. Interesting, I have that point of view about my hormones. Interesting point of view that I have that point of view about my health or my ability to heal. What that does when you ask a question, okay, I'm functioning from conclusion right now, and how could I actually shift my attitude on this? Even just asking that question interrupts your current thought pattern, okay? And it allows you to create a new one, a new thought pattern in the brain. So a new idea, a new thought could just be, I can do this. My body is resilient. I totally got this. If that could just be your mantra, your new mantra, like every time that you doubted yourself or your body, or I trust my body. I want you to just for a moment, just close your eyes and say that to yourself. I trust my body. Does that feel different? And what if every time you doubted yourself Again, you used a phrase like that. Do you think that that would help your body relax? For me, I just felt, even though I trust my body quite a bit, because I do this work a lot, I felt my whole intestines, all of my internal organs just relax. And do you think that's going to help me with digestion and my immune system and my circulation? Heck yeah. Because we know that stress, when we're stressed, all of our blood and our energy rushes to the extremities to fight or flee and away from the organs of the digestive system and the immune system, and affects our circulation. So what if it didn't? What if we didn't have to be under that chronic stress? No matter where that stress is coming from, what I'm talking about here is our thoughts, because a lot of our thoughts create a lot of it. Okay, so what I want to just share with you too is that we have to find words that resonate with us, right? So some of the things I share with you might not resonate completely yet, and that's okay. That's kind of what I help my private clients do, is like, let's figure out something that works and let's tweak it until it works. Because when you find something that works, wow, your whole life can change. Honestly, I mean, life can get so much easier. So I'm telling you, I'm so excited because I hope you're open to exploring this, because it can totally shift the trajectory of your life, your health. I mean, it's very profound, and I know it because I've lived it, and I've helped many of my clients do the same. So when you find the right words, this is what you're trying to go for. And a lot of people miss out on this when they're doing this mindset work, is that you have to find a phrase, a mantra, a question. And we're not going into all this today, but if you follow me at all, you know about how I like to ask questions, not why questions, certain types of questions like what would it take? What else is possible? Is I shouldn't say you have to. If you want to actually, for those words to actually do something effective and profound, is you want to feel a shift in the energy, your vibration, your energetic field, your frequency, right? These might be kind of woo-woo words for you, but just go with me for a minute. You want it to change how you feel in your body. Okay. And if this is newer to you and it's hard for you to grasp that, just remember that we are energy. Okay. That is just science. And so whatever, our energy is like a boomerang. Whatever energy we put out in the world comes back to us. Okay. If you are someone who has tried many things and you keep getting the same results, you have the same issues in your life that you've been dealing with the last 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, it's honestly, maybe you've tried affirmation work, you've tried it all. Most likely, why you're not creating the change that you desire, or that you've been wanting to create for so long, that you've tried so hard to create, is because you're not shifting the vibration. You're not shifting. You haven't been able to figure it quite out how to shift the energetic feeling that goes along with those words. Let me explain this. Okay, if you're a person that's if you're a kind of a glass half empty kind of person, and you believe that things are always happening to you and you have no control over them, there's no judgment, honestly. And I spent a lot of my life with that mentality. And honestly, it was my adrenal fatigue recovery journey and healing journey that pulled me out of that and made me realize that maybe not everything's my fault, but it's my responsibility, and I have way more control. And a lot of things that have happened in my life have been connected with the choices that I've made or the beliefs I had about myself. So maybe you just haven't had an opportunity in your life to have a different perspective to change this. And so, we all do the best we can with what we have been given. So there's no judgment here. But if this feels familiar, if it sounds familiar, the coolest thing is that we acknowledge that. That's the first huge step. And the next step is just to be aware enough, because then you can start in the moment, you can start shifting that. You can start to choose when you're starting to feel sorry for yourself, when you're starting to have that kind of negative outlook, what if you could just come to a neutral position? Okay, I'm so frustrated. Nothing's working with my healing. Okay, actually stop. Angela, stop. What if I just didn't have the charge? What if I just remained neutral here and just observed? Okay, cool. I'm frustrated. Right? I'm frustrated because I'm not going anywhere. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to just try to neutralize a little bit. I'm going to say, what else is possible? What, and you don't have to go into your cognitive thinking mind about it. It's really more of a heart, like learning and thinking from the heart space, if that makes sense. I know, sounds really airy-fairy. But anyway, I've done this work for over a decade for myself, gotten me through some very traumatic experiences in my life. And I work with my clients on this. So I just encourage you, you do the mindset piece. It's so important. And you find out questions or affirmations to switch up the thoughts and beliefs and find the ones that create a different feeling, that make you feel lighter, that make almost feel like your energy around you is expanding, where you feel a softening in the body. Those are the types of words that create those types of feelings. That's what you're looking for. And remember, this is all just about being more conscious of our choices every day rather than just sort of going on autopilot. And what I mean when I say is making choices in your life, these choices are around your thoughts, being more aware and conscious of the thoughts you're thinking, of the beliefs that you have, the words that you say, and the actions that you take. And how do you react? Are you always reacting to life? Or are you choosing to create your life? So I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me today. I highly recommend you, if you haven't already, to go back and write down these pieces. Take the time to do this exercise. And if you enjoyed this podcast or any of our podcasts, we'd love it if you would give us a review. And if you subscribe to the podcast, that's wonderful too, because you'll get notified on future podcasts. I'm wishing you such a lovely, lovely recovery in 2021. You got this. All right. Goodbye, everyone.